Hi everyone, Porthany me, Tano here, the internet's busiest music nerd, and it's time for a review of this new album from Mike, Burning Desire. New York rapper and figurehead within the current abstract hip-hop scene, Mike, he is back with his 7th full-length solo LP, I believe, which follows 2021's Disco, and also an album he put out earlier this year with The Alchemist and Wiki, fellow New York rapper who is pretty much a veteran of the scene at this point, considering how long ago it was when his old group Rat King was popping off. But back to Mike, who has recently had a lot of influence on the underground in its current state, thanks to modern cult classics such as Weight of the World, as well as May God Bless Your Hustle. I've been jumping into Mike's work as it comes out for a while now, and I regularly find myself at a point where I can see what he's going for, I can see his inspirations, I can also appreciate the themes of what goes into his work too. Be that the focus on depressive feelings, emotional anguish, lots of social static as well as Afrocentrism. But at the same time, the samey production I find on his records, combined with the lack of coherent songs and a somewhat slovenly delivery, all kind of do a disservice to his lyrical ability. So color me surprised when I am standing here in front of what is his biggest and longest album yet, from what I understand, at 24 tracks, 50 minutes, and I'm actually enjoying it. I think it's his best project so far, and it's more engaging and colorful and animated than anything he has released up until this point. I mean, Mike is turning a new leaf a little bit on this project when it comes to instrumental variety and emotional vibes, while still sticking to his guns as an introspective and a cerebral artist. Now, I was worried off the bat with this record because the first full song on it, Dambe, pretty much felt like everything that typically leaves me indifferent toward Mike as a rapper. We get fuzzy, slow, ill-defined, woozy loops over which he has this very froggy, weak flow that veers in and out of tempo. And even though there are bars that hit like nobody showed me pity till the bars came, the self-awareness of himself and also what appeals in his music to other people is great. There's just something about the way he presents all of that that does little to nothing for me. And for sure, deeper into this very dense record, there are other cuts that more or less feel average for Mike, be that Zombie or Baby Jesus. But we almost instantly get a night and day difference as we transition onto the next track here, Zap, which showcases for Mike a very high level of energy and lyrical focus, on top of some booming beats and kaleidoscopic key chops, standout poeticism that speaks to the chaos and wildness of the song itself, with magician Mike saying he has a hypnotizing aura, and in this case I would agree, especially as his flows devolve into these dizzying repetitive mantras on the back end, something he tends to do at the finishes of his tracks on this LP, with varying degrees of success. Now, from here on this record, he hits us with a really nice streak of bold flows and bolder instrumentals, with African sex freak fantasies heavy lo-fi electro grooves, or Snake Charm, whose quaint keys and soulful vocal chops leave Mike sounding like a hip-hop Mr. Rogers, as he simultaneously manages to sound mopey and charismatic. He really does create an interesting combo here by finding ways to effectively put these warm feelings on his loneliness, on his stress. And I liken this process to him kind of going down into a deep, dark emotional pit to pull out gold. He very much does on Please Don't Cut My Wings featuring Earl, which is gloomy but oddly catchy at the same time. There's also Real Love, which in my opinion is really how you do an experimental, enveloping, random, interpolated interlude cut, complete with a poetic reading. Not to mention You Think Maybe featuring Live in Vienna is maybe the most luscious, jazzy, and gorgeous cut on any Mike record so far. Between the vocals and instrumental choices on this thing, Mike is really sounding reinvigorated. Maybe some brighter days as of late have given him a wider array of things to rap about, emotions to pull from. I mean, that's certainly what the joyous reggae flip on Billboards with Ana Luapo feels like. Not to mention the confident flows over melted jazz samples on 98. Plus, the idea of existing despite bad weather, bad events, and the clouds eventually parting are what the title track track of this thing, as well as They Don't Stop in the Rain, are all about. It's also kind of interesting to hear Mike over the moon about the success he's been seeing and how much money he's making, for example, on the track Horizon. Generally, I will say, even though there weren't any tracks across this entire record that I thought were outright awful, I didn't think that the finish of the LP was as strong as the start, like on Muscle Beach and Golden Hour, where I think Mike really struggles to bring on guest rappers that provide an interesting or high or heady level of energy. And sometimes his very casual and almost non-existent song structures do leave something to be desired, especially as you have various parts of a track kind of melting into each other unceremoniously, like on What You Say You Are. I can respect, though, how a lot of the tracks on this record come together in a very engaging and chaotic way, with many of them being very potent, very short, sometimes transitioning into each other really quickly. In that sense, I kind of feel like this record is mad villainy for music fans that have a mood disorder. How the record appeals to me anyway, that's kind of the closest point of comparison I can think of for it. I mean, sure, there are other albums out there and artists out there that have a vibe and an energy similar to that of Mike, but I can't think of any who have come through with a record as expansive and as chaotic as this. Even his closest creative kindred spirit, Earl. But yeah, overall I'm really impressed with this record. Not only its versatility, the amount of skill and focus Mike showcased on a lot of tracks here, but also how this record is able to effectively explore both gloomy skies and glowing horizons. There is a great closer on this record too, where Mike really kind of brings things back to a home base of heartbreak over a stellar instrumental that has a haunting vocal chop laced in it, some fantastic descriptive bars, as well as a haunting vocal guest outro on the track too. It really kind of feels like the formula Mike has been working with for a bulk of the record, if there is a formula at play here, brought to its highest and sharpest peak, which again I would say is the case for this album in general, even if I do think again the ending is not quite as strong as the start. But you know, even if you look at Mike's songs on a micro level, he's not exactly one for strong and defined endings. I'm feeling a strong 7 to a light 8 on this one. Transition, have you given this record a listen? Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you rate it? You're the best, you're the best. What should I review next? Hit the like if you like. Please subscribe and please don't cry. Hit the bell as well. Over here next to my head is another video you can check out. Hit that up or the link to subscribe to the channel. Anthony Fantano, Mike, forever.